Mission Impossible. I mean, some of the stunts in that were absolutely breathtaking. The submarine scenes, the biplane chase at the end, just absolutely awe-inspiring.
Wait, a biplane from Mr. Top Gun? I love it.
Hi, I'm Zach O'Mara.
And I'm Jared Compton of Rattlesnake Suitcase.
And we're on All Over the Place, where the fun sanity never ends.
Hello and welcome back to All Over the Place, the New Year's Eve edition, the 2025 review in the rear view. And let's get it going right away with Mr. Jim Culver. How are you doing, Jim?
I'm good. I'm all ready to celebrate the end of the year. Got my Tacos and Cervezas party shirt on. Got my cerveza right here and ready to go. Happy New Year.
All right. And also want to welcome in the slightly under the weather, joining us for a few moments, Mr. Martin Zamora, a.k.a. Stilvato Claus through the 12 days of Christmas, I'm sure. How are you, Marty, besides the constant cough?
Yeah. Hanging in there. I know everyone in the country is sick, and I'm also one of those people. I just wanted to hop on real quick and thank all of you for listening, watching. It's been a great year. Really, really appreciate people paying attention to, a pair of dumb shits and a monkey. Thank you so much. And thank you, Jim. I know we've only done the virtual thing, but you're a good guy, and it's been great hanging out with you. And Eric, you're my brother. I hope you know that. So thank you for all your hard work. Doing this is a lot of fun. And I really just want to thank everybody. As a matter of fact, a toast to our listeners, watchers, viewers, our fans, I guess you'd call it. I hope you're fans. Anyway, thank you for all the support. It means the world to me, and I know to the boys. And here's to a great new year, a great 2026. And love you guys. Thanks again.
You're here.
And while you're here, Marty, I did want to pass along a message. Kathy also not able to join us tonight, and she wants to send her best Happy New Year wishes to everybody. And she's become a big part of this team as well. And it's
yes, cool cat.
I'm going to second everything Marty said about how much we appreciate our viewers. And don't forget, we do have our prizes now, our little goodies here for all of our. I had it right the first time. So we've got our pins, we've got our keychains, we've got our All Over the Place stickers. So those are going out to our commenters on Facebook, YouTube, and also over at Instagram. So it's been a phenomenal year, and I'm going to say this probably throughout the show, but we set records this year. We took off leaps and bounds. This is beyond any expectation. I went into this year, 2025, monetize and thrive in 25, and we have, and beyond any expectations. And right now, I just want to get, Marty, you came up with this idea last year to, instead of me rattling through everybody, that I'm going to keep this on the ticker throughout the show, but every guest we had this year, we had an amazing time. And I said, well, I wanted to think about who's one of my favorites on it, but no, everybody just brought something. And the only people I specifically want to thank are Chip Ruggieri and his team over there, Chipster PR and Consulting, Ray Roldan over at Ray B Inc., and also to Mike Cabillos. I hope that's how you pronounce his name, Cabillos, over at Earshot Media, for bringing us all of our guests this year. And you know what? We probably did a half and half with guests to three-fers or free-for-alls or tributes and memorials. And we'll talk about the memorials a little bit later in the show. But I just can't thank everyone who contributed to the show. And you two guys and Kathy just helped take it to a new level this year. I can't thank you enough. And most certainly want to thank our fans. They most certainly are our fans, Marty. And whether they're friends or family or just people. And, Jim, I don't know if you noticed, but we picked up 2 subscribers today alone as of this recording. So we're continuing to grow every week, folks. Thank you for watching and or listening. So it's means a lot. I'm very humbled by that. And we just want to keep kicking ass in 2026. We got more great guests on the way. We've got some authors. We've got some DJs. We've got some more bands coming on. And the Threefers are going to continue to thrive and survive in 26. I got to come up with something rhyming on that one. But I'll come up with that in the new year. So, but Marty, want to let you go so you can get
All right,
yourself.
boys. I'll leave you to it. I know it'll be great. Can't wait to watch it. But I got about another 5 seconds before I go into the next coughing fit. So, in the words of Eddie Murphy, Merry New Year.
Merry New Year.
I'll see you all in 2026.
All right. Talk to you soon, my friend. Go get well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right,
Beef jerky time.
Beef jerky time. Yeah. So just how we started, Jim. Just the two of us here, and again, 2025, amazing. I'm still, as I was putting together the list of our guests, my head's still reeling, and just and who'd have thunk that one of our guests would become one of our team, and Kathy, I just one more up there for Miss Rankin.
You're here.
No relation, as we have recently learned, to Rankin Bass, the famed animators, but she's awesome. But no, looking forward to having Marty and Kathy back on when we kick off 2026. Mm-hmm. And right now, Jim, I'm going to hand it over to you for just as we wrap up 2025. Anything that you want to talk about? This is kind of a free for all. If you've got a threefer, whatever you got, let's roll with it as we kick out 2025.
Yeah, I just want to second everything you guys said. Thanks to everybody who listened, subscribed, commented, liked, all of it. You guys are why we keep doing this, and we appreciate all of it. So yeah, it's been, man, what a year. I mean, and it's been an insane year. It started with an election, a new president starting out, or for the second time, and the
restart. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it was a year ago. It feels like it was 10 years ago because so much has happened this year. But it's been an incredible year. There's obviously a lot of things I could talk about, but I was gonna, maybe predictably, but I was gonna focus on a recap of the year in movies because that's kind of my thing. And so that'll
be a good counterbalance to where I'm gonna go. Books, of course. Yes.
There you go. Books. Yeah, there you go. So. Just looking back on the year in movies, it's been a really interesting one. It definitely felt like a bit of a sea change in Hollywood this year. Things are definitely still down since pre-COVID. 2025 was supposed to be the big year for Hollywood. That was the mantra in the business, just survive till 25. Well, 25 got here, and there were some tentpole movies that were supposed to be huge, and a lot of them really weren't. It was kind of a year of surprises.
Can you remind me and our audience what those might have been?
The tentpoles? Oh, I mean, Superman.
Shoot.
Fantastic Four. What else did they have? Jurassic World, of course.
Oh, there's another Jurassic Park movie. There you go.
There was, yeah. Mission Impossible, Wicked, Zootopia. I mean, a whole bunch of tentpoles.
Zootopia did well, though.
Zootopia did well. Not
including out of what, 6 or 7?
Yeah. So, it really wasn't. I think quite the year they were hoping for, but it was actually a pretty good year for Hollywood. The box office is up about 5 or 10% over last year. The big question mark is going to be Avatar, which opened a little bit soft compared to the previous entries, but it's doing pretty well. So depending on how that pans out, those movies usually have legs and go on for months. If it does, could be it could boost the year overall pretty well. But it's probably going to be about 5 or 10% up over last year at the box office, and it is expected to improve next year with a lot of highly anticipated movies like Avengers, Chris Nolan's The Odyssey. Thank you. A lot of big epics coming out next year.
Have you seen the trailer yet for The Odyssey?
I have. I saw the trailer, and it was interesting. It felt like it was really trying to stress the more down to earth stuff. There really wasn't a lot as far as like mythological. It was kind of Matt Damon and his troops, going through military formations, getting on boats, things like that. It was, it's really trying to stress that it's going to be kind of a down to earth version of the mythology, I think.
Yeah.
So
I watched it today, and maybe it's the fact that Nolan shot it like he does most of his movies these days, to be seen on the IMAX screen, shot for IMAX. So maybe it would have been more impressive on a big screen. I don't know, and I found it a little underwhelming. Something I was not expecting to say, because I've been hearing nothing but great stuff about the Odyssey, and it's Nolan. So, but still going to see it. But yeah, just a little underwhelming to start.
Yeah, it felt like it was trying to set a mood more than anything else, than show a lot of spectacle. The Odyssey is one of my all-time favorite books, and I've kind of been waiting my whole life to see a big budget version on the big screen. So, looking forward to that for sure. Chris Nolan really hasn't disappointed me yet, and I've been watching him since Memento came out. So, I think I have pretty high expectations of it. I think it's going to be great. But we'll see. So yes, we're expected to have a better 2026, but the bottom line is we're still down about 40% from the pre-COVID years. The industry really hasn't recovered from that, and it's getting kind of late to blame COVID for that. It's more, I think, just that a lot of the material they're putting out isn't hitting, and I think people got trained up to stay home and watch movies on streaming rather than go out. And those two things are hard to overcome. There was a bright spot, other than it just being up a little bit. There's a report that just came out recently saying that theater attendance for Gen Z, so teens and 20s, was up 20% this year.
Really?
Yep. Huh. And it was mainly by video game and anime movies that came out. So, but at the same time, you had, like superhero movies that were supposed to make a huge comeback this year didn't do very good. So if you kind of look at the numbers, what you're seeing is that teenagers and 20-somethings really aren't showing up to see Superman or Fantastic Four. They're showing up to see the Minecraft movie, Chainsaw Man, stuff like that. Five Nights at Freddy's. They're showing up to see those things that are really targeted toward them, rather than the big, wide appeal tentpole movies. So I think Hollywood's taking note of that, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that kind of stuff. We're going to see a lot more video game stuff. We're going to see a lot more anime. Those are going to be the niches going forward to kind of capture that audience. So we're going to see a lot of that. Sequels did really well. Some remakes did well. Horror movies did really, really well. And so, in my opinion, some of the best movies that came out this year were horror movies. And video game movies, obviously. There were some original movies, but they pretty much all bombed. They didn't make any kind of cultural impact. So I feel like it's going to be sequels for the foreseeable future, because that's what people are going to see. Yeah. Overall, but I mean, overall, there's a couple of really big elephants in the room for Hollywood, and one is trying to keep the theater experience going, because at this point, not only are our theaters not recovering from pre-COVID, but just looking at the revenue numbers, I mean, theaters are still making money, but the streaming revenues are dwarfing the theater revenues, significantly. So that's really where the money is right now, because that's what everyone's doing is paying for their streaming subscriptions, but they're not going to see that many movies.
Well, a quick interlude on that note, because you and I have discussed this off show with some things. What, or do you know what actors are making? Are they still making their like 20 million per picture, or has that come down in light of streaming not making what the box office used to make?
There aren't many at this point that are making those kind of paychecks. That's something that's going on, and because Hollywood has essentially killed off the movie star. over the last 20 years or so. That used to be what drove people to the theaters. And then, number one, social media kind of killed the movie stars' mystique and popularity. But there was another shift where they basically just stopped grooming movie stars. They stopped trying to keep them popular. They just plugged them into franchises and they made the franchise the star, which is another way of saying the producers are the stars, because the producers are the people behind the franchises. So, you can be a Hugh Jackman or a Robert Downey Jr. and you're not going to make movie star money, but you're going to make really good money. I mean, obviously Robert Downey Jr. made like $70 million or something just for coming back for Doomsday, but that was a once in a lifetime thing. But movie stars really don't exist much anymore, other than Tom Cruise, I think, is really the last one carrying that torch. So the franchise is really the star these days. At least until they kill off all the franchises, which they've been working so hard to do. It's just not happening like it used to, where they could command that kind of money for a movie. What is happening is that the actors that are able to kind of pivot with the industry are doing well. For example, Adam Sandler signed that huge Netflix deal. And so,
years ago, he saw what was going to happen.
He saw it coming. And so he's made insane amounts of money off that. But it's been mutually beneficial, because he gave people a reason to tune into Netflix who maybe wouldn't have been interested, because there was a new Adam Sandler movie coming out every year if they were fans. So you can kind of pivot to that system a little bit. But it's just a lot harder, I think, for an actor to command that level of wealth and fame these days, because they're really just being plugged into the franchise system nowadays. And so,
and where another kind of an adjunct to that, Tom, we're going to go with Tom Cruise again, someone who demands that his movies get released in theaters.
Yep.
And if he's the only one doing it, or one of the few doing it, everything's just going to be going direct. Streaming is going to be the driving part of it. And what's the sense then in a theatrical experience, unless these these actors and directors? I mean, you look at someone like Nolan, who is my age, and Tarantino, a little bit older. Of course, he says he's only got one more left in him anyway. But directors who understand the power of the big screen. And it kind of makes me sad that a guy like Martin Scorsese, who we're going to get to a little bit later on, but I'll bring him up now, because here's a guy who thoroughly understands the power of the big screen in terms of restoration of all these classic movies and things to be experienced outside of your home. But he's taken contracts now, whether it's Netflix or Apple TV, and they're getting released there. And so you're losing the older guys even. So, but then when we're getting to these younger directors, and the auteurs are gone, but even like a guy like Nolan and David O. Russell, I guess we can still consider him one. Not as much output as he used to, but who else is left? It's like, it used to be you went to see a movie because of the director. Right now, I can't think of anybody beyond Nolan and maybe Philip Thomas Anderson, although I had no interest in seeing his latest one. But these guys, again, Anderson and Nolan are my age, but as we get younger than that, which isn't too tough these days, to be younger than I am, but it's what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot. I mean, there's a few that are, that are a bit more artsy, but are popular enough, like Robert Eggers, Ari Aster, some of those guys, they can open a movie up to a certain point, but they're not proven track records. The guy who made Sinners that just came out over the summer, Ryan Coogler. Yeah,
there's another guy I would see a movie because it's him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's had enough hits that you can just splash his name on the screen, say director of Sinners, Black Panther, Creed, and people will go see that. So it goes back to the track record. And then going back to what you said about Tom Cruise, I mean, that guy has a proven track record going back 30, 35 years of hits. He produces his own movies, which a lot of actors used to do but don't. and he has a deal with Paramount where he has some say in that, and he can tell them, we're no matter what I make, it's going into the theater, or we don't have a deal. A lot of actors don't have that kind of bargaining power, especially not anymore, because movie stars just aren't as big a thing anymore.
Ryan Reynolds is just probably the only one I can think of who's going to be the last stopgap for that.
Yeah,
and he's going to direct streaming as a major source now.
Yep. Yeah, and some of these guys that have been around for a while, like Dwayne Johnson, they're still kind of popular, but they're just lost some of their luster because they're getting older, and the shtick is getting a little old, and they're not being replaced by anybody new. Jason Statham type guys, they're still out there, but they just don't have the pull to command their own salaries and get their own movies into theaters, and it takes a lot of influence. And part of the problem is that a lot of these studios, that used to be focused almost entirely on making movies and TV shows, they've kind of been gobbled up. So movies aren't really made by movie studios. They're made by Apple or Amazon or, these big tech companies. And, movies are just a wing of what they do. And so, it doesn't really mean that much to them if theaters go away, because they've still got all this streaming revenue. So theaters, and so that kind of goes back to the next point I was going to make, which is Warner Brothers being put up for sale. Obviously, the two big buyers are Netflix and Paramount. So, Paramount is offering more money, but they're considered more old school, and the Ellisons have some friendships with Trump, so that's controversial in Hollywood. Netflix is offering a little bit less, but they're just considered the hip new kid on the block, even though they're not that new anymore. But they're still kind of they're the streaming king, and if they buy Warner Brothers, then I think that's going to move us a lot closer to a future where theaters mainly exist as a way to introduce a movie. And then they get it on streaming as quickly as they can, just to keep those licenses, or keep those subscription money flowing in. I don't think theaters are going to go away, certainly not in our lifetime. But I just think they've kind of been slowly dissipating for a while, and I think that's going to keep happening. And there's always going to be theaters for tent poles in the summers. There's always going to be theaters for the art house stuff, and kind of the low budget horror that people love. Those did really, a lot of horror movies did really well this year on low budgets, so those are very profitable. And I think people still love seeing those kind of movies. A movie like Sinners or Weapons, people love going to see those kind of movies in theaters because they're so imaginative and different than anything else. So I think theaters will still always exist for those things, but they're just not going to be the events they were unless something really changes in Hollywood. So,
well, on that note, Hollywood, are they going to ever, you think, change the rules for being eligible for an Academy Award? Because for years it's been, you've got to show it at least, it's got to be shown in a movie theater before it's shown anywhere else, platform wise.
I think that's going to have to change eventually, because you've got movies like The Irishman that are made by really, really popular directors, really high profile movies, a lot of big budgets. They have all the elements of a theatrical movie. They just didn't go to theaters. And that's been happening more and more over the last 5 years.
Well, if I remember correctly, again, and Netflix did this twice now, to my knowledge. I'm sure there's some other ones as well. But that showed in theaters like a week or two before it debuted.
Oh, did it?
And on Netflix. And then most recently, at least for me, I was so glad. And one of our former guests here, Aaron, Cinesylum's Aaron, the Cinesylum up in Scottsdale, they showed Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein.
Right.
So in a movie theater, like a week or two before. So I mean, from a technicality standpoint, you at least have it eligible under the current rules. But again, like I said, it's going to shift. I mean, especially with the trends being what they are, it's going to shift at some point.
I think it will, and even if it doesn't, I mean, with the studios getting kind of swallowed up by these big streamers and big tech companies with streamers, I think they'll probably just work out a system to make it work. Like maybe they'll release everything that they consider awards worthy in theaters, like right before like a week before for one weekend, and then put it right into streaming or something.
Yeah.
And nobody will go see it, but because everyone's going to be waiting for it on streaming. But there's easy ways around those rules if you are that big of a company that controls everything effectively. But I think the rules are going to change. I mean, the Academy rules are changing all the time. They just recently announced they're gonna finally let stuntmen get Academy Awards after
Really? No
many
way.
years of lobbying for that. Yeah. So, So I mean, they're willing to change these rules under a certain amount of pressure, and I think that's probably what's going to happen with that.
I hope they don't mind if I call it the Hooper.
I like it.
Still one of my favorite lines, and I've brought him up on the show before. My Mork and Mindy buddy, Dave Besselman. Another one from back in the day. Dave loves saying this line from Hooper: "Just stick your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye." A stunt man's credo.
It's a good one. Where does it live by, really?
It works anywhere. So yeah.
So I mean, that's obviously one of the big elephants in the room for movies, and the other one is AI. That is obviously a big tsunami that's going to come crashing over Hollywood very soon. Some studios like Disney are trying to get ahead of it by making certain agreements, licensing certain things, but it's just I think it's gonna completely revolutionize the industry. I really do. I mean, you've got songs being made by AI, you've got scripts being written by AI already. They're not good, but they're out there. Animation, yeah, I mean, it's slop, but it's going to keep improving over time. Maybe it'll never be as good as the real thing, but since when do the studios care about it being great anymore? They just care about mediocre that sells. So I think a lot of
three words for you. Why my generation will never trust AI. Global thermonuclear war.
The only winning move is not to play.
Not to play.
But I mean, a lot of these jobs I think are going to eventually get replaced by AI. I hope they don't all get replaced by AI, but some of them certainly will.
And the irony in what I heard from so many people, and I had major disagreements about it from a creative standpoint. Their big support for AI was so it could free us up as human beings to be more creative.
Yeah.
Well, irony can be pretty ironic sometimes.
Indeed.
Careful what you wish for.
Yep.
Global thermonuclear war.
Yep. Mutually assured destruction, really.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. No, and I mean, obviously the technology has a way to go. There's a lot of legal hurdles before people can just use it to make whatever they want. But things are progressing a certain way. I think eventually we're just going to get to the point where it's going to be like when YouTube and some of these other video aggregators came out, and suddenly you didn't need to spend millions of dollars and take your movie to a film festival. All you had to do is shoot something and put it up on YouTube, and to get it out there. As Ken Christensen said on our show a while back.
Yeah.
This is an age of more democratic content where pretty much anybody can make something if they're willing to put some time in. And
rebels without a crew.
Rebels without a crew. And I think AI is really going to change the game when it comes to that kind of stuff. Eventually we're going to get to the point where anybody can make a movie. It's not going to be necessarily as good as what Hollywood makes, but anybody can do it just by going into some software and saying putting a few things in and just having it spat back out again. And it's gonna change everything for better and worse. So
let's stay positive though, and I want to ask you what you saw this year, whether it was at home on a streamer or that you actually were able to get to a theater. What were some of your favorites for this year?
I didn't get to see a whole lot in the theater. I did see quite a few in streaming. I mean, my all-time favorite, my big budget favorite was had to be Mission Impossible. I know some people didn't like that there was a lot of fan service for the previous movies, that it was a little bit long. It had its flaws, but it was just a really, really well done movie. A ton of spectacle. It really just delivered that experience I was looking for on the big screen. I mean, some of the stunts in that were absolutely breathtaking. The submarine scenes, the biplane chase at the end, just absolutely awe-inspiring stuff.
Wait, a biplane from
I believe
Mr. Top Gun? I love it.
Oh, if you haven't seen that, you got to check it out. It was really good. Like I say, it was really made for fans, which surprised me. These movies were really good at kind of topping each other and pushing the story forward. This one felt like it kind of coiled back on itself a little bit. It had a lot of callbacks to the previous movies, and it did that thing that a lot of franchises have been doing lately. Like the Bond franchise did this, Star Wars did this, where there was suddenly this huge overarching villain who had been behind it all the whole time. And, the hero had to, it was supposed to raise the stakes, but it really doesn't, because you can't live up to that. It's the final confrontation is always going to be a letdown at that point. And I think there doesn't have to always be a big Palpatine behind it all. Like you can just have an awesome villain at the end and have a great confrontation with that. But so it wasn't perfect. The storytelling could have been tightened up a little bit, but I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a fantastic movie. And as far as summer movies go, I mean, F1 was fantastic. Loved that.
I just watched that on Apple TV.
Yeah,
I kind of wish I would have seen it in on the big screen. I thought that was very well done.
Oh yeah. Joe Kosinski, who made that, and Top Gun Maverick. That guy is just in the league of his own as far as filmmakers go. I would like to see him on the level of Chris Nolan, where people know his name, they see his name, they go out and see it, because he delivers great spectacle.
I think he's a populist, Chris Nolan.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he did. He did another movie called I believe it was Only the Brave, about firefighters in Arizona. That's a really good movie with Josh Brolin and Miles Teller.
The Josh Brolin movie. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
he did that. Okay.
He did. Yeah. So he's really good at making these movies about these professional guys who go out there and put their lives on the line. And he knows how to bring the visual spectacle. So yeah, that guy is fantastic. And as far as the more low budget movies, let's see, I'm looking at movies from the year and I'm trying to remember what I saw. Probably Weapons was the best original movie of the year. Speaking of Josh Brolin, that was just a really, really well done horror movie, which I highly recommend. Just it's really nothing. It was advertised as just kind of a body snatching type movie, but it really goes way beyond that and goes in so many different directions. And it's just a wild, crazy movie, but it's really well done. So, yeah, those are probably my top 3 for the year. So, how about you? What's your top ones for this year?
Boy, I've watched a lot of documentaries, so it's yeah. But I mean, for me, it kind of begins and ends. And I'm glad I got to see it on the big screen, as mentioned a little bit earlier. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein by Del Toro. I think it's the finest adaptation I think I've ever seen of Frankenstein, and I'll even put that up against any of the Karloffs from back in the day. Those are very, very good. They're classics for a reason. Don't get me wrong, but I like what Del Toro brought, and just it hewed to the book a lot more than anything I've ever seen before. And Shelley wrote a great book, as far as I'm concerned, and it was done well. And Oscar Isaac, phenomenal as Dr. Frankenstein, and the effects were everything you'd expect from Del Toro. And just Christoph Waltz had a small, but as he always says, small but very effective supporting role. And yeah, just really enjoyed it. And I've already watched it twice again on Netflix. So really, really enjoyed that one.
Awesome. Yeah, and who would know that in the mid 2020s we get this resurgence of the classic movie monsters. We had Nosferatu, we had Frankenstein, and Robert Eggers is working on a werewolf movie as we speak, which looks amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
Nosferatu is everything I could have hoped for on that. I mean, just
Yeah.
vampire guy that I am. Really liked what he did with that one.
Yeah, love Nosferatu. And, obviously you have Sinners, which is a more of a, even though it's set in the past, more of a modern day take on the vampire mythology. But
I don't know why I thought that was last year, but yeah, that's this year as well. So yeah, there we go. Monster movies, very unlike me, I guess. But non-vampire films at least. Yeah, but but documentary wise, of course, we covered the John Candy, I Like Me.
Yep,
And the Apple TV has 2 great documentaries out, and I think the Steve Martin one was technically last year, but I just picked up Apple TV recently for a couple of months, and that one, the Steve Martin, it's in typical Steve Martin, it's titled Steve, and then in parentheses Martin with an exclamation point, a documentary in 2 parts. So those are each about 90 minutes long, 2 parts, and one was then, which covered him up until. Right after The Jerk, which is basically it's when he stopped doing his stand-up. And then part 2 was now, so taking from the early 80s to the present. And just I had totally forgotten that he had retired from stand-up comedy and just went into movies or not now with
his banjo,
streaming television. And just I forgot how much I liked that guy or what drew him to me, because my dad, being the SNL guy that he was, we had Wild and Crazy Guy, Comedy Is Not Pretty. My dad had all of his albums that were out. And so I listened to his comedy, and he was an everyman kind of guy, and nothing flashy, but he was cerebral, but goofy at the same time. Something I'd like to think that I strive to do. It's just being that Al Churbic guy that I am, just some guys don't belong, just the cultured slob. And right. Steve Martin's comedies early on, and then just to watch him evolve as more of a cerebral actor, and then being able to jockey more of a serious fare. I mean, whether it was Roxanne or Spanish Prisoner or just
great movie,
name it, and still be able to do the comedies. I mean, really smart comedies, and especially we brought up Bowfinger on the show before that. Yep. That's easily in my top 20, maybe even my top 10 of all time now. And Steve Martin just keeps bringing it, and just highly recommend that documentary. And again, Martin Short plays such a big part in the latter half of it too, of the second part. So yeah, it's and the other documentary, brought him up a little bit earlier, but also Apple TV, Mr. Scorsese, and that one's in 5 parts. They're each a little under an hour each, the five chapters. I knew I loved the guy already. Just 5 hours, almost 5 hours worth of more. Like, yeah, greatest director of my lifetime.
Yep.
At least for the foreseeable future. But yeah, just everything he brings, and just being the music lover that I am, just he's always had his finger on that pulse, and I think it goes back to, and I knew it, but just and of course I learned through the movie how he got screwed with the Woodstock soundtrack. He was supposed to be he was supposed to be the director or co-director on that one, but the partner on that one just iced him out. And then, of course, and I learned that was when he began his relationship with Thelma Schoonmaker or Schoonmaker. I can't remember. I apologize for mispronouncing your name, but Thelma, I got that one right. But as an editor, and just the relationship those two had back and forth through the years, just the guy's a genius, and I highly recommend that one. And folks, after Jim and I, we watched the John Candy I Like Me documentary. I think it's pretty safe to say, after seeing these 2 documentaries, in 2026, there's going to be a Steve Martin 3-fer and a Scorsese 3-fer. Safe to say.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I'm going to have to add one more. I have to go back and add one more to my list.
Yes, go ahead.
The 1-2 punch of the end of Cobra Kai, and then followed by Karate Kid Legends. Those 2 together, they just made my 80s kid heart sing. And probably my favorite entertainment event of the year. I'll put it that way. Getting to revisit, those characters from my childhood so much. Karate Kid Legends, pretty good movie. Not on the level of the Cobra Kai show, but still worth seeing for sure. And like, I know they just did 5-6 seasons of that show, but I just want to see like Daniel LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence in like a buddy show or something. Like have them be the next Starsky and Hutch or something. Like those 2 guys. Those guys have such good chemistry. They're awesome. And,
Well, if you must reboot, I'm not going to extend that idea. Those two together, great chemistry.
Absolutely, yeah. Got that old buddy chemistry from the cop movies we all grew up on, and just a lot of fun. And yeah, I got such a kick out of that. And yeah, so it feels like 10 years ago because it was way back in the spring. But yeah, putting those two together was a great way to start the year, entertainment wise.
Well, there you have it, folks. Jim's movie year in review and little tangents here and there, as we are wont to do here on All Over the Place. And I'm going to pick up the torch now with music, and wearing a shirt from one of my favorite concerts of the year. Really quickly want to go through a couple more. Simple Minds earlier this year. Wow. 40th anniversary of Once Upon a Time, brought up on the show as one of my favorite Perfect albums. So seeing them perform most of that, plus so many other great songs, and Jim Kerr's voice still bringing it and altering the key where he needed to, but it didn't take away. It wasn't a distraction on a fantastic show. Almost 2 hours worth of music. Simple Minds, great. Also, kind of hit me out of nowhere. And I'm glad I took the plunge. Going to see Ice Cube, and that was a show because it was just him. Unlike Public Enemy, there's no band or S1Ws behind him to add to what Chuck D and Flava Flav bring to Public Enemy. Cube's it. There's no NWA behind him anymore. Although he did have a guest come out. Of course, I'm blank on the name of the guy who came out with him for a couple of songs towards the end. But almost 2 hours of just Cube on stage telling stories and celebrating his 4 decades in hip hop, and basically telling his story as a person, and then leading into NWA and then his solo career and his movie career and all that. And just, I don't know if he's ever going to do it again, but it's highly recommend seeing Ice Cube. And he also had one of my favorite songs of the year. And I believe Chuck D's on it. And I want to say, I can't remember if it's LL Cool J or KRS-One. I think it's LL Cool J, but it's called Before Hip Hop. And it just goes through all these things that people want to point the finger, like gang violence or teenage pregnancies or all that. And she was like, before hip hop, all this stuff was going on, and just Cube bringing it, and loved it. And finally, on my shirt right now, Wolfgang Van Halen is still coming into his own, maturing as a songer, maturing as a performer. He has his father's reticence for the stage, and I remember because I've seen him from the beginning just as an opening act for people, and then going out on his first solo. I saw the first night down in Tucson, the first tour he did as a headliner, and just watching him gain confidence and just try new things. And I'll get into that a little bit. Actually, I'll make that the segue in a second. But just live, he's having so much fun up there. And he had a very pointed thing to say about AI, Jim, because he was talking about there are images going on in the background. I can't remember the name of the artist that he uses. Mm-hmm. But the guy designs all of his concert T-shirts and a lot of the stuff that he uses on the albums with artwork as well. But he was saying, take a look at this. If you like this, please be sure he gave the name of the artist. Go to this guy's site. You can buy his artwork. It's all him, and none of this is computer generated, because that shit fucking sucks. End quote.
Yeah, you really feel.
I know. And it's so weird. I still want to call him a kid, but the guy's, closing in on 40 years old. But yeah. And anyway, but Mammoth, phenomenal show, and that's going to lead into my three for the year. But I do have some honorable mentions, and I kind of wish Marty was here for one of them, but he'll be watching this. But first off, I'll be getting a little bit more into this in my in memoriam section that Jim and I are going to go through to wrap up the show. But this is not a new album from 2025. This actually came out in 2020. It was originally released under the title Raw/War, and it's The Alarm. They reissued it as Omega, but we unfortunately, Mike Peters from The Alarm passed away earlier this year. pay tribute to him. I won't get too much more into that, but I have that on vinyl now, and that it's such an immediate album to what was going on. The way the Alarm recorded it back at the beginning of 2020, in the wake of what was going on at the Capitol, and he recorded it and released it all within 30 days, which is pretty unprecedented in today's laborious, attention to too much detail on albums. But
Yep.
Mike Peters, rest in peace. You were a punk to the end, man. I loved it. Also celebrating his 40th anniversary this year. My good friends In Excess. This is a Record Day special picked up over at Vinyl Record Dude. Thanks again, Nick, and the team over at Vinyl Record Dude. Royal Albert Hall, In Excess. Wow, great stuff. Michael Hutchins, rest in peace. We'll be having more on that, though, with our friend Danny Saber in the coming year. Also, 41st anniversary release, and Peter Jesperson, phenomenal guest on the show. He was talking about this, the Replacements, Let It Be box set. Great stuff there. And this one's from Marty. I also picked this up on vinyl. Nick hooked me up with this one. There you go, guys. I actually own Boston on LP. And I have listened to it more than once. You drop a needle on Boston. It's how it's supposed to be done. But that's going to lead into my top 3 of the year, and former guest on the show, Josh, now Jenny, from Vandaliers. And, this Life Behind Bars. Talk about, another leap from these guys. This is my favorite album from them. And it's just their songs talking about, Josh and his decision to transition to Jenny Rose. But even the songs beyond that, these guys just keep getting better and better, and seeing them live earlier this year, another great experience. One of the best live bands out there. Highly recommend seeing Vandaliers, and recommend Life Behind Bars, my number 3 album. My number 2 album, brought him up a little bit ago. This guy, this is Mammoth, no longer with the WVH behind it. The End is the name of the album. And it's, again, Wolfgang just continuing to mature as a songwriter and as a player. He's still, like in true Dave Grohl fashion, he plays every instrument on his album. And so for him to pick up guys who can play at the same level in his live band, great stuff. And he gets a little funkier on this one. There's some more introspective moments. And again, just continuing to grow as an entertainer and a songwriter. And shit, he does it all and does it well. So Eddie, rest in peace. You done good. And Valerie Bertinelli, you two made a great kid, very, very, very talented kid. And so, do you watch their videos at all, Jim? Because he makes his own videos too.
No, I don't.
And he's got his dad's phenomenal, and his uncle too. It's genetic, and his grandfather Jan, the clarinet player, among other things. But great musician from the Van Halen family and from the Bertinelli family. He is a funny guy, starring in all of it, and he plays himself on every instrument. So there's 4 or 5 of him on screen at the same time. Yeah, it's just, and it hasn't gotten old yet. Oh, and I will send you the video. I can't remember which song release it was. It's one of the first 2 singles, I think. But he does an homage to Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, the horror movie that they did. From Dusk Till Dawn.
Planet Terror? No, Dusk Till Dawn.
It's an homage from Dusk Till Dawn. There's a lot of cameos in it. I'll send you that video. But my number 1 of the year, and I once again need to thank Ray Roldan over at Raby Inc. And this is a one-hit wonder from the 80s. And, of course, they had 3 albums back in the day, had a comeback album a few years ago. But this album, I could never have anticipated loving the Vapors, Wasp in a Jar, as much as I do. There is this, as the kids like to say, banger after banger after banger after banger on this one. And I brought it up early in the year when we had Steve Smith on the show, the bass player from the band. Decompression. I've been bouncing around the room listening to that one. Just great bass line on that one. Just so many great songs, and a band that's 40 plus years, and to come back and make an album this consistent and this just power pop punk. Love it. The Vapors, Wasp in a Jar, my number 1 album of the year, hands down.
Yeah, that was a great album. It was. I'm so glad we had him on to introduce me to that, because I was totally not on my radar. But I look once I was able to track that music down, it was fantastic. It's not what I'm used to from the Vapors, because I mostly remember from the 80s. But yeah, it was great stuff. Great stuff. for sure.
And got to see them live on I Love the '80s, or I'm sorry, Lost in the '80s tour, and they only played the early stuff, but yeah, but they are outside of that tour package. They're playing the new album a lot, so I'm hoping that they'll tour the States off of that one, because they were only doing stuff over in Europe off that. But
Right.
Very quickly, I do want to also send some shout outs to the following. Our good friend Zach Selwyn, he's got a new album out, and it's called I want to make sure I get this right, Zach. St. Michael's Hotel. And it's some of Zach's best stuff. He's coming into his own more as a country writer. And he was always been the hip hop, the the Jewish hip hop cowboy. But this one, he's really channeling the his country. And this is not hyperbole. I said it to him the second I heard this album. He needs to get on tour with Chris Stapleton. It would be a fantastic pairing, those two together. Cheap Trick has a new album out, All Washed Up. These guys haven't lost a beat. From Rockford on, they have continued to make awesome albums, just like it was back in the 70s, early 80s. Love it. Of course, I mentioned Ice Cube, Cleopatra, a band that I discovered probably 4 or 5 years ago through Spotify. They have a new album out called Scrap. Love it. Good, just sparse guitar and drum work. I love it. Thanks to Peter Jesperson, I tuned into Tristan, and she has a great voice. Her album, it's been on pretty decent airplay, or I'm sorry, rotation, I should say. So Peter, thank you for the Tristan recommendation. Mike Mills from REM, he's got a new band, and it's also Darius Rucker. He and Mike trade vocals. It's called Howl, Owl, Howl. And check it out if you haven't. If you like REM, and really, who didn't like REM at some point in their lives? I don't trust you if you didn't like REM at some point in your life. But yeah, Mike Mills sang a small smattering of songs during his REM days, but he's trading, like he says, he's trading vocals with Darius Rucker now. Both guys got great voices. Of course, we had on the show, and it's another band I discovered thanks to our PR hookups, but The Fell, loving the Kill Switch album that's got major airplay with me. 9 Inch Nails, the Tron 2 soundtrack, awesome. It's Trent Reznor is digging deep into it. It sounds like 9 Inch Nails from 90s, early 2000s. Love that one. And over my left shoulder here, you can see down here, I've got the 2 EP releases from guests of ours here on the show, which I have gotten majorly into in the last year or so, after seeing them 6 years ago, open for Gin Blossoms and Collective Soul. The Black Moods, who I've seen at least 3-4 times this year, maybe more. But you've got Passion and Blood. Check out both of those EPs, and fingers crossed that they combine those onto an LP at some point. So we've got the songs on the front and the back. Just drop the needle. Looking forward to doing that with the Black Moods. But yeah, that's the smattering of honorable mentions to go with my top 3.
Good list.
And,
Can't improve on it.
And I hope The Fell has gotten on your playlist as well.
It's working its way on there for sure.
And they have announced tour dates for the beginning of next year. They're going to be back east. So
Okay.
Fingers crossed they start winding their way our direction. So I'm sure they
You're
will.
here.
But
Hopefully.
yeah, so that's my year in music, whether it was shows or albums. It was a good year. Good year.
Yep. I would also add Steve Postel.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We were blessed with a lot of good guests this year.
We were, but yeah, I really liked his stuff. Walking through these blues, that was just great stuff. I really enjoyed it. That one is becoming an earworm for me. I listen to it all the time. So yeah, I would add that to the list for sure for me.
Again, I don't want to get into any more. We had so many great guests, and every last one of them that you're seeing go across here on the bottom ticker, folks, they're all in playlists now. But I do want to send a special shout out to Lamal, who, again, you want to talk about, we mentioned earlier the one-hit wonder that the Vapors were back in the days. Lamal, a 2-hit wonder back in the 80s, but his cover of Horse with No Name still blows me away.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Yep.
Just the reinterpretation of that song. And he was our number 1 show of the year, and it continues to get clicks every week and views. So I can't say enough about the whether it was Ray or Chip and Chip's team and Mike over there with oh gosh, no, I'm blanking on it. Is it Earshot? There we go. I'll do a little cheating there, Mike, over at Earshot. Yeah, I got it right. Earshot Media. We had so many great guests on the show, music wise, and they're all on my playlist for the end of the year. And yeah, great stuff. But and before we get to the somber end of the year, actually, you know what? Let's do the somber part first, because we paid a fair share of memorial tributes this year. And of course, Ozzy, Val Kilmer, Michael Madsen, David Lynch, Hulk Hogan. We unfortunately didn't get to do it'd be on me from a technical standpoint. Our Terrence Stamp memorial, unfortunately, was not suitable for air. Just a few too many technical glitches. That one's on me. But and Brian Wilson, unfortunately we didn't have a chance to memorialize him. But Mike Peters, Sly Stone, and also Sam Moore from Sam and Dave all passed away this year. And yeah, I was. But with every one of those guys, just they gave us so much, just a rich catalog of movies and or albums just to keep listening to forever.
Absolutely. They all left behind a powerful legacy, that's gonna live on for sure. Val Kilmer, I mean, he was one of my favorite actors. I think he had a lot of good years left in him if he'd been able to heal from his illness, but he left behind a hell of a body of work, and a lot. They all did though. So we they're gone, but the work lives on. We can enjoy it for the time we have here.
And thanks to you, I was able to see one of those. Was it Kill Me Again? And with that, of course, had Michael Madsen in it as well.
Yep. R.I.P. It had him as well.
And I also, unfortunately, we had talked about bringing him on the show to talk about the release of this Blu-ray through MVD, the Rewind collection. But my friend Jack Marino, and I want to get this on here without a glare. There we go. Killzone. This was released to Blu-ray with a ton of special features on it. And I also want to point out, I have it back here in front of the old landline set on Broadway in honor of Steve Hackett, going on the road with that this year. But take a look at this, folks. I can do the best without a glare. But the packaging on this, they made it seem like it was an old VHS release. And it even says on here, this movie rated R, please be kind, rewind. Property of Bordentown Video. Removal of this label could result in penalty. It's all broken down. You can kind of see the VHS cassette right there. And it's just a great tribute to Jack and the guys like him who made movies in the 80s and early 90s. And
that's awesome.
Just turning it out there and making war movies, just like the Roger Corman ilk, and just getting out there, just making some product for the people. And recommend picking that up. And Jack, I'm bummed that we did not have a chance for him to come on and talk about just everything that went into all the bonus features on this. But Jack is on there in one of them with his old partner Steve Latshaw, and just two guys who loved movies talking about making movies. And that was one of the many parts of Jack Marino, my friend, patriot, rabble rouser, my favorite bull in the china shop. Rest in peace, Jack Marino. To close the show, I definitely would be remiss if I did not bring up all of our sponsors this year, our social media partners, and just Danny Zalesko and the dzplive.com/events. Check them out. I mean, I've been going to see Danny's show since I arrived here in the Phoenix area almost 9 years ago. And the guy is such a presence with live music, has been for 50 years now. And we're honored to include him with the show and have a social media tagging relationship with him. We would not have grown this year without Danny Zalesko Presents and his team. And also I want to thank Nick Bohr and the gang over at Vinyl Record Dude. And just the trust that we have in each other as we both grow together. And I'm so excited that Nick has got the new store over there, the live music that he's had in there so far, more that he's going to be having in the future. He designed that place so that they could bring live music in, and the acoustics are phenomenal. And one of the people that I got to see in there and showcasing her talents was DJ Jasper. And she was spinning some tunes in there on their grand opening weekend. That would have been on the Black Friday weekend and Small Business Day Saturday. She was in there spinning records. She's going to be a guest on the show next year. Wouldn't have met her without Nick. And so, yeah, thank you, Nick, Elvis, all the gang over there at Vinyl Record Dude in Scottsdale. Check them out over in Scottsdale or at vinylrecorddude.com around the globe. Also want to thank our two-time guest on the show now, Dan Schinder, over at Drum Talk TV, and more specifically, drumtalktvbrilliance.com. Make sure you go to drumtalktvbrilliance.com to get all their exclusive content. It's a subscription, but you get so much access to phenomenal concerts, more interviews, and Dan and his team over there at Drum Talk TV, we get some great guests. They get more great guests. And actually, there's been some overlap between us. I like seeing that. And Dan's been instrumental in helping this show grow exponentially. So, Dan, up to him as well. And, just I brought her up earlier very briefly, but Kathy Rankin, make sure you're checking her out over at Instagram.com/RushFanatic. We had Kathy on as a guest earlier this year. We really dug her as a person, and just her sense of humor, her knowledge, and just her energy, her positivity fits perfectly here. We extended the invitation for her to come on and be a co-host when joining the All Over the Place team. She accepted. And I mean, I think the shows have gotten so much better. Again, it's her energy, her positivity. And Kathy Rankin, we are honored to have you as part of Team All Over the Place. Forward to many, many more great shows. And specifically, in a few weeks, I just want to remind people that Kathy and Eddie Trunk will be hosting the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame Awards on the Sunset Strip. That's going to be on January 21st, a.k.a. my birthday. And we're going to be covering that as well. Kathy's hosting, and I'm going to be covering the red carpet for All Over the Place. Hopefully, Jim's going to be able to come down. Marty, of course, is in the LA area. We're hopefully going to get him to come out as well. Who knows? We may have all four of us non-StreamYard. We'll see what happens. But looking forward to that in the new year. And Kathy, you rock. Marty Zamora, you rock. Jim Culver, my friend, you rock. As we close out 2025, couldn't be happier to have this amazing team all over the place. Thank you, every one of you. And just as importantly, everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for commenting. And thank you for helping us make 2025 beyond expectations. I'm honored to be doing this, promoting projects, sharing our favorite lists, and just, having a fun time with my friends. That's what it comes down to. So thank you, everyone.
Yep. Seconding that. Thanks, everybody.
And we will be back really soon on All Over the Place. Till then, take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
All Over the Place, where the fun sanity never ends.